So I am appointed as a minister in the new government in the Department for Education. It's absolutely brilliant. It's actually, as somebody reminded me on Monday, 25 years ago that I first became a minister in the Department for Education. And at that point, I was the youngest minister in the government. And now I'm not. I think I count as the sort of... I'm calling myself experienced.
You're experienced,
yeah,
vintage and classic.
But it's just brilliant, you know, it's brilliant to be part of the government and to be back in education.
Can I ask you, to have been there before and now to come back, you know, are you approaching the job differently? Do you see politics has changed? You know, are you going, well, I'm going to do this a bit differently like I was last time?
Well, I hope I've learnt from my experience. And, you know, I did have 10 years as a minister in the last Labour government.
So at a pretty senior level.
At a reasonably senior level. And so, you know, I've learnt from what went right and I hope I've learnt from what went wrong as well. And, you know, much of it is a bit, you know, some of it is coming back to me about the sort of pressure, the decisions, the honour that you feel from it. This time it's a bit different because I'm going to be in the House of Lords.
Right.
Yeah.
So on Thursday I'm going to be introduced...
call her Madeley now.
Madeley.
Yeah, and curtsy, who you do. And so I'm going to be introduced to the House of Lords. That's going to be really exciting. That means that I have to... So every department has a minister in the House of Lords. And, of course, although I've got an area of responsibility, that means I have to answer for everything in the Department for Education in the House of Lords.
Well, Ian, that's interesting.
This is like the end of a double act. It's like,
It
it's like Morecambe and Wise. It's like Dick and Dom.
Ian,
it's like one half of the Crankies is no longer around. What's going to happen?
Well, it is.
Are you looking for... What's going to happen?
We've been doing Good Morning Britain together for, what, 7 years now? We've been doing the podcast for 7 years, so that's coming to an end. I've got to find a new podcast wife.
He didn't have to. He used to say, if the podcast finishes or if you can't do Good Morning Britain anymore, obviously I wouldn't feel like doing it. The minute I left, he's touting himself around to any woman that will have him to come and join the podcast.
It's the women who are touting themselves to me.
Some things don't change.
I had a text from Harriet Harman saying, are you a younger man seeking an older woman?
Wow.
So she's on next week.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is she dead to you now, effectively, Ian, Jackie Smith?
We've got a final outing tomorrow, haven't we? We're appearing live in Broadstairs in Kent, doing a For the Many Live with Giles Brandreth. Not that we'll get a word in edgeways, obviously. So, no, I mean, Jackie and I have become very close friends. In fact, we've got a little bit of an announcement to make, haven't we?
Go on, then.
Oh, come on, what's happening?
Well, we're finally going to get married.
I love the idea of that.
Who to?
Quiet. No, look, I'm going to miss her terribly, not just here, but also on the podcast. But we're going to stay good friends, aren't we? But that's up to you, because you're going to be far busier than me. So.
Yeah, you'll be sort of like...
Well, look,
we're going to get the money's worth out of you then,
quite right.
and make the most of it before you... Oh, look, she's sitting up straight. She's got the ministerial vibe going on already. You're going to be brilliant, by the way, and I'm sure everybody will just look up to you.
Well, you say that, and then I'll be on here and you'll be giving me that terrible grilling, you know, and it'll all be no more Mrs. Nice Guy.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly, new rules. But look, I think we were awestruck, I'm sure you've seen it. We're talking Joe Biden and NATO. I think, but let's just have a look. So here he is talking about Ukraine and introducing President Zelensky, and this is what actually happened. Let's have a little look.
And now I want to hand it over to the President of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
I mean, there were gasps in the room, weren't there, of all the people to mix up. What did you think at the time, Ian?
Well, I stayed up last night to watch the press conference, and it lasted an hour. And right at the beginning, he talked about Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just one occasion.
I think we've got that as well.
Shall we watch that as well?
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
Now, if you're being kind, you can say, well, look, we've all got people's names wrong occasionally
I'm
in the
terrible.
past.
I'm terrible.
I wasn't going to
at
say
names.
anything, Kate, but...
I'm absolutely terrible at names. I have huge sympathy.
But this is
I
like
guess...
twice within a few minutes. It's part of a pattern. And I've always felt rather awkward talking about this because you don't want to be... I mean, he's an older man. You don't want to be accusing people of having a particular cognitive problem, but it's clear that he does, and he is the President of the United States. Now, I don't think anybody's saying he shouldn't serve out his term, but for the next 4 years, this is not going to get better, is it? That's the problem.
I think the worry is, as well, is that we've all made slips. You know, he was thinking about Putin and probably because he was thinking about the war between Ukraine and Russia. But it's the fact that he doesn't seem to catch it. He just go, oh, you know. And as you say, he's making the most important speech at NATO for him under scrutiny. It's rather sad.
Well, to be fair, he did catch it. I mean, if that clip had gone on a little bit, I think he heard the gas and then realised what he'd done and immediately went back to the podium and made a little joke out of it. But it still happened.
But he went back to the podium. Do you know what I mean? It's... Oh, I don't know. It's not like a stumble. It's hard. Jackie, sorry, what do you think?
I mean, obviously it's not ideal. Keir Starmer's clearly been there this week as part of his, you know, his first international trip as Prime Minister. And he talked about the very good conversation that he had with Joe Biden.
In fact, he clearly says he's not senile.
Yeah, and, you know, it's not for British politicians to interfere in another country's decisions, and both the American public and the American Democrats need to decide who it is who's going to be their candidate. And I suppose, you know, Keir Starmer's job is to make sure that our relationship with the US remains as it is. And he, of course, was able as well to meet President Zelensky and say to him, and I think his almost exact words were, you know, different government, same commitment to Ukraine.
I actually felt quite sorry for not just Keir Starmer, but the other world leaders there, because this has dominated this. And I feel that our profession sort of lets themselves down sometimes. If you ask a politician a question that you know they can't answer, what's the point of asking it in the first place? So all the questions to Keir Starmer about Joe Biden, everybody knew that Keir Starmer couldn't sit there and say, well, of course, yes, I think he should go. You just know that he can't do that as British Prime Minister. So it was all very uncomfortable, wasn't it?
It is. Because you're talking about someone's health at the centre of it and a person whose role is vital to all of us, aren't you?
The key now is...
Jackie, can we end maybe with finding out where you're going to watch the match?
I'm going to watch the match at home with both of my sons and some of their friends. And if it's anything like Wednesday night, the neighbours are going to know we're watching it. In fact, one of my neighbours said to me, "Oh, I heard you watching the football." I think that was her. Oh no, and I heard you watching the election because I'm not that quiet when I'm excited about things. So I apologise in advance.
And you said it wasn't the football.
Well, good luck in your new role. Hopefully we'll be back on the show to talk about serious matters.
Jackie, we look forward to you coming back on the show.
For you to grill me, I know. Look at that. Look at that.
Come on.
It's been absolutely fabulous working with you guys, by the way. And, you know, I'm so chuffed to be a minister, but not doing this anymore and not doing the podcast is sort of the only downside.
Well, OK. We'll take that. We'll take that.
I got a little... I'm a bit...
And Ian, look forward to seeing you next week.
Yep,
and by then it'll be Jackie Who,
I should be playing GMB Tinder with all sorts of different TV partners.
All right.